In just a moment, we're going to visit with Todd Horwitz of Bubba Trading to get his thoughts on these markets today. Let's see if corn is still on the higher side here by 3 to 3 3/4 pennies. Well, it's even excelled that. March up 5 1/2 now at 386 1/2. The May is up 5 1/4. A lot of these front three contracts are at least 5 cents higher. And now soybeans are pushing higher again. January up 9 1/4. March up 9 1/4. In fact, all front 5 months are up at least 9 cents. And now the March Chicago wheat contract is 19 cents higher. It's at 551 1/2, or only 1/4 penny or 1 tick away from the high of today. July is up 17 at 554 3/4. That is on the high of the day. March Kansas City wheat 20 cents higher, 462 3/4. That's as high as it's gotten today, with almost a 20-cent trading, about 18.5-cent trading range. The July is up 19 1/2 at 476 3/4. And Todd Horwitz is here with us. Todd, do you think, what's your thoughts over here on this grain market? Have we turned the tide here to maybe a little bit more optimistic market? And the reason I ask that is because this morning when I checked the commitment of traders, there was still quite a few short in the market up until this morning. Now it seems like the attitude has changed quite a bit.
Well, you remember, Johnny, and good morning. Remember, the commitment of traders is a week old. So you're looking at last week's data. So let's look at today. And as you and I talked about last week, it looked like the grain markets are trying to make bottoms. You know, wheat, we already established a bottom, but corn and soybeans looked. And I think last week on Wednesday, we made those bottoms, and we've been moving up since then. And I think everything looks really pretty solid right now. And again, I could see us going significantly higher from here. It doesn't mean there won't be some pullbacks in between, but I do think the bottoms are in now, and I think it's more full steam ahead with pullbacks to be bought now instead of rallies to be sold.
Is it your opinion, Todd, maybe that the funds are now more attracted to the commodities now that there is some kind of positive movement toward trade with China?
Well, I don't know that, again, I'm not a big believer in the trade with China, the news. I think that, again, I thought, and I've said this all along with you, is that I felt the harvest wasn't going to be as good as we thought it was going to be, and it wasn't, or it's not. And I think the other thing we're starting to see is suddenly volume is starting to come back in. And I think what happened is the shorts are starting to get a little bit scared, so they're being forced to turn around because, once again, they were totally in control when there was no volume. Now that there's some volume, the volume looks like there's some buying coming in, and we weigh in, maybe a little bit of reduction in supply and all things that are going on, plus the trade wars. I think you can see that now we're starting to maybe move a little bit higher.
And crude oil, I want to get your thoughts because I know you track it pretty closely as well. What about crude oil? We're just a little bit higher here today. We're up 11 cents right now at 60.18.
As you know, I think crude's going much slower. However, we're bullish at right in this point here. We have been for the last couple of weeks, as you and I have talked about. I think probably it may test those the highs of Saudi Arabia, the drone bombing, but I think that might be the end. But again, right here, I certainly wouldn't be saying to short it here or sell it here. It looks like it wants to go higher. And one thing we know about markets, it doesn't matter what market we're looking at, you can't fight what the market is telling you to do. And the market right now says it wants to go higher, so why would I want to get in the way of it? And I think that you'll probably see maybe a test of those highs. Eventually we'll get back down lower. I think this is probably being overdone. We're still in that real backwardation. So that's really what it looks like. But I wouldn't sell it here yet.
Okay, we'll be back in just a moment. Todd, stay with us. More with Todd Horwitz with Bubba Trading coming up right after this. Well, it's Monday, and that means everybody's kind of going over the show list for this week's cash cattle trade. In the meantime, let's look and see where the live cattle market is headed. Earlier, when we checked just about 30 minutes ago, we were on the weaker side here, and we still are about the same. We haven't changed much. December down 28, 122.10. So February's down 52, the April's down 37. Feeder cattle market weaker as well. January down 45, March down 68, April is down 58 at 147.47. But in the hog complex, things are just a little bit on the higher side. February is at 69.72. That's up 22 cents. April's up 60, and the May is up 63. And for analysis, let's go back to Todd Horwitz. First of all, Todd, your thoughts on the livestock market over here. Healthy little breather here, do you think?
Oh, I think so, John. I mean, you take a look at cattle. I mean, we had a monster move up on Friday, and Feeders are up, pushing up against highs again, which natural little bit of sell-off here, 40 cents, 50 cents, really not even to think about. I think we go right through it the next time up. And of course, fats continue to run, and it looks like February fats are on their way to 130. I think that, again, I think we're going a lot higher. That was what we were talking about when I was in Las Vegas. And of course, the hogs, the key for hogs is February hogs have got to close over 70 before they're going to convince me that they can go higher. It looks right now that we're stuck in this range, 66 to 70, until we can get a close above. Now, Friday we were much above 70 and came right back and closed below it. So until that can happen, then we will turn bullish at hogs as well.
One more question. I know that you had a pretty big seminar that you held out in Las Vegas. What are you hearing from producers? What are they saying? Are they optimistic about 2020? They have an opinion?
They're optimistic, but we know, right? Farmers and producers are naturally optimistic, right? Just to do what they do. But I think they are optimistic. I think they've seen kind of some of the things you and I talk about every day on the air. And I think that, the overall picture looks bright for them as they go forward into next year, and pretty much across the board. So it was a pretty refreshing, conference to be at, because there was a lot of people in good spirits, even though the things had not been great coming up into that.
All right, Todd, always good to check in with you. Todd Horwitz, Bubba Trading. And let's take a quick look here at soybean meal and soybean oil before we go to a break here, before we get back to some more news. The January soybean meal is up $1.70 at $298.60. And for the oil market, we're up half a dollar right now at $33.10. Just about a dime underneath that high, Christina. And some say to keep a sharp eye on that soybean oil market. It could be leading the way for soybeans.
Yeah, we're going to have to keep close tabs on what's happening in Argentina in regards to that as well.
That's exactly right.
That news story is coming up right at the top of our next half hour. Thank you, John.